Helreið Brynhildar, the Hel-Ride of Brynhild. The little Helreið Brynhildar immediately follows the short Sigurd lay in the Codex Regius, being linked to it by the brief prose note. The heading Brynhild's Ride on Helreið stands just before the first stanza. The entire poem, with the exception of stanza 6, is likewise quoted in the Nornegestatartar. Outside of one stanza, number 11, which is a fairly obvious interpolation, the poem possesses an extraordinary degree of dramatic unity, and a certain pedantic commentators notwithstanding, it is one of the most vivid and powerful in the whole collection. Nonetheless, it has been extensively argued that parts of it belonged originally to the so-called Sigdrufumál. That it stands in close relation to this poem is evident enough, but it is difficult to believe that such a masterpiece of dramatic poetry was ever the result of mere compilation. It seems more reasonable to regard the Helreið, with the exception of stanza 11, and allowing for the loss of 2 lines from stanza 6, as a complete and carefully constructed unit, based undoubtedly on older poems, but nonetheless an artistic creation in itself. The poem is generally dated as late as the 11th century, and the concluding stanza betrays Christian influence almost unmistakably. It shows the confusion of traditions manifest in all the later poems. For example, Brynhild here is not only a Valkyrie, but also a swan maiden. Only 3 stanzas have any reference to the Guthrum Gunnar part of the story. Otherwise, the poem is concerned solely with the episode of Sigurd's finding the sleeping Valkyrie. Later as it is, therefore, it is essentially a Norse creation, involving very few of the details of the German cycle. See introductory note to Grupispa. Helreið Brynhildar. After the death of Brynhild, there were made 2 balefires, the one for Sigurd, and that burned first, and on the other was Brynhild burned, and she was on a wagon which was covered with a rich cloth. Thus it is told that Brynhild went in the wagon on Helreið, and passed by a house where dwelt a certain giantess. The giantess spake, "Thou shalt not further forward fare, my dwelling ribbed with rocks across. More seemly it were at thy weaving to stay, than another's husband here to follow. What wouldst thou have from Valand here, fickle of heart in this my house? Gold goddess now, if thou wouldst know, hero's blood from thy hands hast washed." Brynhild spake, "Chide me not, woman, from rocky walls, though to battle once I was wont to go. Better than thou I shall seem to be, when men us 2 shall truly know." The giantess spake, "Thou willst, Brynhild, Búthli's daughter, for the worst of evils born in the world. To death thou hast given Giuki's children, and laid their lofty house full low." Brynhild spake, "Truth from the wagon here I tell thee, witless one, if know thou wilt, how the heirs of Giuki gave me to be, joyless ever, a breaker of oaths. Hild the helmed in Hlimendalir, thy named me of old all they who knew me. The monarch bold the swan ropes bore, of the sisters 8 beneath an oak. 12 winters I was, if know thou wilt, when oaths I yielded, the king so young. Next I let the leader of Goths, Hjalm Gunnar the Old, go down to hell, and victory brought to Altha's brother, for this was Odin's anger mighty. He beset me with shields in Scotland, red and white their limbs o'erlapped. He bade that my sleep should broken be by him who fear had nowhere found. He let round my hall that southward looked the branches foe high leaping burn. Across it he bade the hero come, who brought me the gold that Fafnir guarded. On Granny Road, the giver of gold, where my foster father ruled his folk. Best of all he seemed to be, the prince of the Danes, when the people met. Happy we went when bed we had, as he my brother born had been. Eight were the nights when neither there loving hand on the other laid. Yet Guthrun reproached me, Yuki's daughter, that I in Sigurd's arms had slept. Then did I hear what I would ever had, that they had betrayed me in taking a mate. Ever with grief, and all too long, are men and women born in the world. But yet we shall live our lives together, Sigurd and I. Sing down, giantess.